in like a Christian home, so and everything like that. So I feel like honestly it was other things, but I feel like the main thing, there was like two main things, but I know for a fact the main thing was because my parents had me early. I feel like, especially with Jamaican people, and you take on the responsibility of somebody else's child, and then they turn out a wrong way, now you're looked at like, oh well, it's your fault because they was with you, things like that. So but, and another thing is they had me young, so I feel like in her mind it was, if I could prevent you from just having a child that early, I'm okay with myself. And honestly, I don't got no kids, okay? I have no children. I'm in my late 20s. I don't got no kid. And I've also never been pregnant. So I feel like maybe it's an accomplishment, but I don't really care, to be honest. That doesn't matter here, there, or less. Because it's like, knowing what I know about myself and that fact that I was basically given away to someone else, and reason for that was because she didn't have it, and my mother expressed that to me. She said it, she didn't have it and she couldn't do it. Like she said it, and like, you know, she apologized and stuff like that, and I completely forgive her, because I had to really put myself in that predicament if I was her, and say, when she says, Tina, I'm never have it, and Tina, I'm sorry, and whatever, I literally had to just say, I figured that. Like, I know, you know? And it's like, growing up, I'll tell you this, knowing what I know, knowing that I don't, like, this woman that I'm with is not really my mom. However, she is the only person that I know. She's the closest thing that I know. And it was like, it's the craziest thing as well, is when people, it's very hard. And I feel like I can't even get into so much depth as I want to, because this video might not even be like monetized. And that's the thing, I can't even get too in depth with my story as much as I want to, because there is parts of it that is extremely traumatizing. But other than that, it's like, because of what was going on, it developed in my mind like a slight hatred, I would say, because it's just, I did not fully know reasons and stuff like that. I didn't know anything until I was literally a grown woman. And the thing is, as you are growing up and you know that this person is not your mom, and you don't know where she is and who she is, also you don't know where your father is and who he is, it does bother you growing up. It will forever like linger in your mind, because you don't even know who you are. Like, your adolescent years is the years you're trying to figure yourself out, and it's very hard for you to figure yourself out when you don't even know where you come from and who you come from and what they look like. And that's a scary thing. Like, I swear to you, it's a scary, scary, confusing feeling when I say to you, I did not meet my father officially until I was like 14. And by the time I was 14, honestly, I was excited, but then I didn't care anymore, because it took me a long time to try to understand myself. And sorry, I'm trying, because they're coming, but I don't want it to. I'm telling y'all, I don't like that talk. Anyway, I am trying my best to not have any waterworks because my camera, I don't know what it is right now. My camera is playing games and I don't want to cry. Like, oh my god, I don't want to cry. Anyway, it takes a toll on you getting to understand yourself. And it was very hard because even like things that my grandmother would tell me, she would just say she don't know why I do the things I do, why I behave the way I behave, whole time not understanding like that's due to like my mom. Like, it's just little things, different things, like I would say just not understanding yourself. And I would say that it took me a really long time to do that. I remember like when I say like a couple of videos back, I would say I had friends who would tell me like, you should see somebody, because you know my like we was close so my friends knew, and my literal response would be, fuck you, mind your business. like literally, because I feel like they knew I was hurting. And it's crazy because you can tell, like people can tell because the way you act is so erratic, so irrational. You could act so crazy and I feel like the reason for that is because I knew, especially like now I'm a teenager, like I know that what it is and there's nothing I could do about it. And I feel like it was a time in my life that I was like thinking to myself, like, what would it have been like if I was living with my mom? Or what would it have been like if I lived with my father? Because they were not together anymore. But I like think like, what would it be like if I had a home where it's like I seen them on the weekend or something? Or like I live with my dad and I see my mom on the weekend, or I live with my mom and I see my dad on the weekends. Because there's a lot of people that I know, and I feel like majority of black communities, they at least know their mom, but you know their father's not around. You see some people see their fathers, you know, some people just don't. And then it's like, I don't see none of these people at all. And the thing is, even though I don't see them, I have my grandparents. And it took me a really long time to just settle in my mind and say, just because they are not my biological parents, they are no less than mom and dad. And it took me a minute to like really grasp that in my mind, because it's like because it's like you still want that at least to know, you know. I feel like even if I had a situation where I seen them on the weekends and I stayed with my grandparents, I feel like even that would have been like sufficeful for me. But then when I get to know them, I really choked up. When I started to get to know my parents, it came full circle. I was never meant to live with them. I was never meant to, all that stuff that I used to think as a child, like if I had them around, like even like part-time, I would have been okay with that. Now knowing them, it's like I was never meant to live with them. I was never meant to grow up with them, to be honest. And it took me a really long time to understand that, because like I said, I had friends that would tell me, you should go see somebody. And this is so annoying. It's so hard. now that I do that, and I'll tell you, I didn't take my first time going to therapy, I did not take it too serious. Because I was like, this, you still have that thing in your mind like, oh, this is for crazy people. No, it's for, do it. Go. Because when you want something, when you are truly looking for, like, you have to, a point in your life, you're gonna have to just grow up and understand what happened and forgive them. I would say this, a lot of our parents put us through traumas and stuff. You have to forgive them. Do you have to be around them? No. You don't have to be around them. You really, really don't. You don't have to deal with them anymore. But for you and yourself to be like, just better in your mind and better with everything, you have to forgive them for yourself. Nobody else but you. You don't have to do anything but forgive them for yourself. Because when I first went to therapy, I didn't take it too serious. And then I'm in it again. And I realized that now that I know them, I'm starting to think way more logical. I'm not being so I'm emotional because I'm a Cancer. However, I'm not being so sporadic. So just like, basically like I'm losing my mind. Like there was a time, like, there's a time in my life that I wanted to S-word myself. I didn't do it. Like, I was very close, but I didn't do it. And, I just felt like, you know, it's a thing. Like, your healing journey is for you and you alone. And when you realize, when you're on that path of like healing, people are not gonna like it. Like, seriously, people are not gonna like it. Because my grandfather died when I was 21. And the thing is, your first love is your father, right? Like, for girls, your first love is your father. I grew up with my grandfather. When I tell you, I love that man. Like, I love that man. Like, and this thing is, when I always say, I didn't grow up with my biological parents, but I thank God I had, like, good, like, someone else to come in and just, you know, literally just raise me like their own. That was, sorry. You know, my grandma's still alive, so when I speak to her, she will always say to me, like, complain, like, oh, I didn't speak to you in so long, I haven't seen you in so long. I feel like I haven't seen her in probably like a month. But yeah, where was I? Damn, I know it's gonna be broken up into parts. I'm sorry, y'all. It's gonna be broken into parts. But yeah, it's for you. It's for nobody else but you. And when you are finally, you've accepted it, you understand it, you can finally move on with your life, you'll feel so much better. Even though your biological parents will think you don't forgive them. Literally, they will feel that way, because that's what's going to happen. Because at the end of the day, that's their guilt that they're going to have to live with, and it's going to eat them, and, you know, things like that. However, you're going to have to forgive them, because there was a time in my life that me and my mom, we used to like argue really, really bad. And my grandmother used to have to tell me to like stop it, because that's your mom. Like, that's your mother. You cannot talk to her like that. And in my mind, for me, it was like, no, she's not. She's a stranger. I don't know her. you know, because it was very weird for me, because it was like all we had was phone. All we had was phone only. And when she would, for me, it was like, don't try to discipline me, because I don't need you to try to discipline me. So when she would try to talk to me in maybe like a disciplinary way, it would really piss me off, because it was just like, you are not the disciplinarian. It felt like you were overstepping your bounds. And for her, it's like, well, I'm your mother. No, I'm not. And for me, it was like, yes, you are, because you can't do nothing about whatever I decide to do. You can't do nothing about it. You don't got no say. And the thing is, in of the law, she technically doesn't have no say, because I am adopted. Other people have full rights to me, full everything. She don't. So basically, for me, it was like, whatever you're saying are just words, and I don't care. So same goes for, like, even with my father. Like, whatever you're saying is just words, I don't care, because I don't have to listen to you, because I'm gonna listen to my grandpa, and what he says matters way more to me than you. What my grandma says matters way more to me than you, than y'all. So honestly, it was like, once I was this was when I was a teenager. So it was like, I don't want y'all talking to me, and I don't need y'all talking to me. That's how I felt as a teenager. Now as an adult, I'm gonna tell you this. Same way. Same feeling, but the difference is I'm healed. And as a teenager, I didn't want to have a conversation with them. Now as an adult, I have the conversation with them if we choose to speak. However, the conversation is cut real short, because when you start to, let me tell you something. When you start to just understand them and know them, and realize, when you start to truly realize why they made the decision they made, and to be honest, it would feel like it was so selfish, but in another sense, I feel like it was actually pretty selfless for you to understand, knowingly, I couldn't do this. Like, I can't do it, but you're here now. However, I know these people that are in a better position than I am, and they're not saying no. So why not? Just like, can you do this for me? Because the part that like really touched me of all this is when I finally met my mom and I spent some time with her, and her and my grandmother spoke, and she told my grandma thank you. Like, she told her thank you, and my grandma literally said my grandma said, you don't need to thank me, because she would have did it anyway. This is, listen, I'm gonna say it one more time. I am literally only telling this story because it was requested by so many of y'all, and I don't know how many times I said I don't like crying on camera. God. Alright. I think, I mean, I feel like this story's all over the place. However, like, share, and subscribe. Comment below, and let me know if I should go live and ask if you guys want like deeper, in-depth like things you gotta say. Oh my god, my makeup. Okay. Goodie Gang Out. Bye.